Tokyo is located in Japan, and it is also its capital. It contains 23 wards, and a few of those are Narima, Ota, and Toshima. There are many cities that surround Tokyo, and a couple of those are Chiba and Kawasaki. And because of Tokyo's dense industrial population, it is considered a metropolis. Tokyo has many landmarks and attractions, and the number one attraction and landmark there is the Imperial Palace. It was originally built in 1888 as a place to have the emperor and their imperial family, and today is still used by the imperial family. And it was the focal point of Tokyo, meaning it was what began Tokyo's expansion back then. Another very popular area to visit in Tokyo is the Ginza district. It is the busiest shopping area in Tokyo. It is also the commercial center of Japan, and it is the equivalent to Times Square of New York. So think of the Ginza district in that way. Another popular landmark in Tokyo is the Ino Park and Zoo. It's a giant park that you can go to, and it also houses a zoo. It is the largest green space and one of the top attractions there. It is Japan's oldest zoo, and they are most famous for their pandas. Tokyo's current population is estimated to be about 38,305,000 people. It is constantly increasing each year, but statistics are showing that it should be decreasing in the next few years due to their low migration and immigration. Tokyo is a major commuter city, meaning people commute to work daily, just like they would here in Houston, except on a much larger scale. Their daytime population is estimated to be 15.576 million people, and it decreases a little bit at nighttime, where the population is estimated to be 13.159 million people. Now, what this means is that about 2.4 million people commute to work on a daily basis. Here's a graph to show how the population differs in the nighttime versus the daytime. Reflects the statistics I just gave.
Hey, the city that we are researching is Tokyo. Tokyo happens to be Japan's leading industry out of all the cities in Japan. Tokyo is the leading industry in the manufacturing base and the manufacturing aspect. A lot of the manufactured materials and products are actually electronic equipment, computers, mobile devices, video games. Anything really that is an electronic equipment probably came from Tokyo or Japan. It has a lot of other diverse massive industries as well. Some to mention are the communication centers, finance centers, customer service. But again, Tokyo is known for their extremely diverse manufacturing base with electronic equipment. Now in Tokyo, computers aren't really seen as a necessary tool to use on a daily basis. Mobile devices have kind of become the main source of communication and business in Tokyo and Japan really. So that being said, computers are not really updated, or they're not really put with new systems to better educate. For example, in schools, kids don't have access to good computers or good systems, so they're not really learning anything. So the computer literacy is actually extremely low in Tokyo and a lot of parts of Japan because of that.
Japan exported a total of $698 billion worth of goods in the year 2017. That accounts for 17.8% of Japan's gross domestic product, which is about $5,500 per Japanese citizen. That's an interesting number crunched by the CIA, the United States CIA. So it's interesting what they're keeping track of. 22.3% of Japan's exports were sold to North American customers, and vehicles, as you may have guessed, are their top export. Included in Japan's top 10 exports are vehicles, as I mentioned, machinery including computers, electronical machinery and equipment, or electrical, optical, technical, and medical apparatus, iron and steel, plastics and plastic articles, organic chemicals, gems and precious metals, ships and boats, and mineral fuels, including oil. interesting. I've been on an LNG ship built by a Sumitomo company out of Japan and leased by the company Cheniere. Cheniere being the first company in the United States to export natural gas. Japan imported $671 billion worth of goods in 2017, and that's 4.2% of total global imports. Their imports included 13.5% imported from North America, and oil and gas are their top imports. Japan's top 10 imports include mineral fuels, including oil, electrical machinery and equipment, machinery including computers, optical, technical, and medical apparatus, vehicles, pharmaceuticals, ores, slag and ash, organic chemicals, plastics and plastic articles, and clothing and accessories. So they send us cars, we send them natural gas on ships that they build. This is what Japan's social media footprint looks like, and it includes names that we're very familiar with here in the US, like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so on. I was a little surprised to see that YouTube was the top social media application used, and while statistics weren't available for Tokyo specifically, since Tokyo's population represents over 7% of the country's population, this is a pretty good indicator of what the Tokyo social media imprint looks like. There are over 126,000 websites hosted in Tokyo. That represents a website for every 1,000 Japanese citizens in the country. The top 4 companies that are web hosting companies in Tokyo start with Yahoo Corporation, number 30th in the world as far as their ranking goes, being a web hosting company. And the 4th is Amazon.com, of course owned by a company in the United States. Evidently, it's just as important for Tokyo residents to order and receive packages promptly through the internet. Tokyo boasts the world's highest concentration of universities and colleges, with over 100 in the city. That represents over 1/4 of Japan's total universities and colleges. The top ranking Tokyo universities are University of Tokyo, St. Paul's University, Waseda University, and Keio University. Each year, over 2 million students take entrance exams for Tokyo's universities. The Tokyo Metro Board of Education has restricted school expansion due to overcrowding. They encourage students to take courses in outlying locations. High school is not compulsory, and students must pass entrance exams. A little different than the US. School year starts in April and ends in March. They do get breaks, which include 40 days in the summer and 2 weeks in winter and 2 weeks in spring.
I chose to do the company Sony. Their headquarters lie within Tokyo, Japan. They utilize a uniquely customized SAP ERP system and the cloud-based ERP system Oracle. These ERP systems are supplied by the company Panaya, and they use the SaaS solution. Every part of the company utilizes this ERP system, so no matter what your career aspirations are, these are the systems you'll work with. And so my current major is general business, so I'm not entirely sure what I want to do in the future, but this at least reassures me that I'm going to end up using some sort of SAP ERP system, so at least, I'll know what I'll be working with. As I had mentioned previously, the headquarters lie in Tokyo, but they also have headquarters throughout the rest of the world, of which one is located in the US in New York. That being said, this means that Sony is a company that conducts their business on a global scale. As of right now, their global revenue is $77.02 billion, And that being said, Japan and the US is where the majority of their sales take place.
Toshiba relies on the ERP system, or Enterprise Resource Planning system, by the name of Oracle. It really revolves, the three main things that make up the Oracle system are about being smart, sustainable, and seamless, which is really having diverse manufacturing, relying on the ERP SM systems, and being able to sustain offices around the world. So because they use this system, they seem like they are able to sustain themselves and meet those requirements. This system, though, does allow Toshiba to operate at a higher level of efficiency and correspondence. Normally, these types of ERP systems are used to tackle extreme business problems and organize things and that nature. It usually all uses the same database. That's the point of an ERP system, rather than having a bunch of spread out little pieces here and there. It's all together. It just makes it easier to find, organize, and operate. As a supply chain manager, ERP systems and systems are going to be used in my job regularly, checking on inventory, making purchases, anything in supply chain management. So I'm really interested to see how Oracle operates on that. Now Toshiba's international business strategy revolves around commitment to the future and commitment to the people. So they do this by maintaining a responsible aspect of all their business plans, and they try to meet the needs of people for a better global impact. So really, that's doing business responsibly while also trying to better the environment and people in the environment as well.
As you may have guessed, this is Daniel speaking, and I've chosen the Tokyo Electric Power Company as the Fortune 500 company that I'd be most interested in working for in Tokyo. TEPCO, as it's also known as, was ranked 117th in the 2017 Fortune 500. Its corporate vision is to become an integrated energy value chain company. TEPCO business management and strategy are highly structured and publicly transparent. Personally, I find transparency to be a significant motivator for all employees to make sure that their jobs are accurate, detailed, and timely. So it's a good setup for a company I'd like to work for, and I have a good number of years of experience in energy accounting and systems development and design. Unfortunately, an epic natural disaster occurred on March 11, 2011, and this challenged TEPCO to come up with a new business plan, not only to address what happened, but what the company plans to do in the future. Many of us may recall a natural disaster in Japan which affected a nuclear power plant. That power plant was owned and operated by Tokyo Electric Power Company. On March 11, 2011, an earthquake measuring 9.0 on the Richter scale occurred about 80 miles off the coast of Japan, where about 400 miles of seafloor moved 30 to 65 feet, depending on the exact location. It was a rare and double quake that lasted 3 minutes, which is long by measure of an earthquake. The island of Japan actually moved a few feet closer to the Asian continent. The resulting tsunami, a wall of seawater over 49 feet high, overwhelmed the otherwise earthquake-proof Fukushima Daiichi power plant. Severe environmental damage occurred 5 days later, when there was nothing available to dissipate nuclear heat from leftover retention. Even though the plant had been shut down almost immediately with the earthquake, there were still nuclear fuels and cooling water to be contained. All the main and backup systems were damaged by tsunami flooding, and the hardened response on site was impossible due to radioactive contamination from tsunami damage. Nearly 350 square miles of coastline was inundated by tsunami flooding, Sadly, over 19,000 people lost their lives to the tsunami. Over 1 million buildings were destroyed or partially collapsed by the tsunami. As we are very familiar here in Houston with the power of Mother Nature and the natural disasters that she can deliver, it's important, I think, to note that none of the 19,000 deaths were due to radioactive contamination. Sadly, 3 employees had lost their lives with the initial earthquake, but none of the TEPCO employees or residents have lost their lives as far as is known to today due to radioactive contamination. But the natural disaster definitely impacted TEPCO from the top down, and they have come up with, well, they initially came up with a comprehensive plan, and that's since been replaced on January 15th, 2014 with what's called the new special business plan. This plan is no longer a TEPCO only plan. It's a trilateral partnership between Japan's central government, TEPCO, and financial institutions, and is designed to substantially increase accident compensation to affected citizens and businesses, to decommission the Fukushima Daiichi power plant or nuclear plant, address nuclear safety, of course, post-disaster, and map out TEPCO's future business operations. I've taken a browse through this plan, and it significantly is impacted by the unfortunate natural disaster events. You can see the writing on the wall, or feel the tension in the plan that they're very concerned about it. I was a bit pleasantly surprised to learn that TEPCO created its own MIS company called TEPCO Systems Corporation to service its CIS and provide maintenance of software services, which it provides to its subsidiary companies, and it was founded in 1977. TEPCO has also partnered with GE to install GE's internally developed power plant software. To illustrate the impact of the national natural disaster events of March 11, 2011, we'll let TEPCO tell it themselves in the next slide, and I'll just keep silent in honor of their efforts.
Now, in terms of Houston and Tokyo, they're both major leaders in the world's technology. They both have major industries and a lot of job opportunity. Houston is more well known for things like oil and gas, big oil fields, and NASA. And Tokyo is really known what I talked about earlier, which was the manufacturing of electronics and their tech industries.
In comparing Houston with Tokyo, I think it's significant that both cities are a major metropolis in each of their respective countries. The cities combine to host 3 major global industries. In Houston, we have the energy industry, and we also have NASA, which of course put Houston on the map in the 60s when the space age began. Tokyo is a global leader in the high-tech industry. The comparisons are quite subjective, depending on which key differences that each person or individual thinks are important and how much they think they're important. So we'll take a look at some of those details in the next slide. Here we can see some of the details presented by Versus.com of the differences between Houston and Tokyo. Of course, these differences are subjective to the individual reader or user. And as you can see, Houston clearly wins, in our opinion.
Tokyo's population vastly outnumbers Houston's population. Tokyo is also known for their electronics manufacturing and are much more high-tech than Houston. With that being said, Tokyo will presumably always be a more dominant city in electronics manufacturing than Houston will ever be, while Houston focuses more on energy and oil and gas.
Group 3 has reached a unanimous decision. We all agree that we think we would like working in Tokyo. For myself, Daniel, I like that Tokyo is strong in education, a world leader in technology, and they have high average salaries. For Zach, he would like to do business there because Tokyo is a diverse city and he likes its geography. Charles wants to work at Sony in Tokyo. They also have high salaries, they're a global business, and one of the leading manufacturers of electronics and gaming. We hope you've enjoyed our presentation.